What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now on today's episode, we'll be doing some appearance mods on the 3rd Gen Tacoma, specifically the shift knob, shift boot, and parking brake boot. I think the OEM vinyl shift boots not only looks but feels cheap, so replacing these. Also with the shift knob, I'm not a big fan of the strange circular design, so replacing this as well. We got some high quality parts lined up, so stay tuned and let's go ahead and get started. Okay guys, here's what we're dealing with. We have the vinyl shift boot on the manual 6-speed shifter. This thing looks and feels cheap. Same thing on the parking brake. Same material, looks and feels cheap. We're gonna place these two items along with this weird circular shift knob. Looks like the circular is basically like peeling away from itself. I'm not a big fan of this thing, so we're gonna place this, this, and this. But the first thing we need to do is go ahead and remove the shifter console. So we need to open this console lid up and we need to pull upwards, and then this thing should come out with clips. And then we need to undo the shift knob as well from the retainer. So let's go ahead and see if we can do this and start taking things apart here. All right, here's the parts we'll be installing today. This is from Redline Goods in Poland, and these are custom boots. This is the parking brake boot, and this is the shifter boot. As you can see, this is a nice black perforated leather, and you can see the red stitching. This will blow away the OEM vinyl by leaps and bounds. And then we also have the TRD Pro manual transmission shift knob right there. There's a part number for your reference. And here's a quick side-by-side comparison of the shift knobs. This is your OEM round spherical shift knob. And then this is the TRD Pro shift knob. You can see the difference in shape. Obviously all the details of the red. It's more of like a square end right there. A little bit bigger, so I think it'll feel good and also look nice as well. And it's got the same bracket retainer on the bottom as well. And the great thing about these TRD Pro shift knobs is they don't have Pro written anywhere, just the TRD right there. So you're not gonna be a poser of any sort. And just as a side-by-side comparison of the OEM versus Redline boots, this is the cheap vinyl, this is the high-quality perforated leather. No comparison right there. Same thing applies for the manual shifter boot. Now, first thing, we're gonna go ahead and get started on removing the parking brake boot from the shifter console right here. And as you can see here on the bottom, there's a little retaining wire that's already sewn inside this thing. So it's basically just held on inside these little retainer clips. Clip right there, clips right there, etc., etc. And it's got a little bend as it goes towards the center console right there. So we're gonna have to make the bend. So I believe this thing just like pops right out, and we'll have to kind of make our own bend right there to manipulate the same OEM style right there. So I believe this thing should just unhook out of here real easy. I'll try and maneuver it out as best I can without damaging it. And the new one will basically just sit inside these clips, and then we'll have to make this bend just like the OEM one as well, because on the aftermarket, it's straight across. So we'll have to make our bend, I believe it's on this side right here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and remove this parking brake boot right here. Okay, looking at these boots side by side, there's actually two bends. There's a big bend on the back side, and there's a slight bend on the front side. As you can see here at the Redline boot, it's basically straight across. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna try and bend it while it's out of the thing, or if I'm gonna put it in the console and start making the bends that way. I guess we'll have to find out. So let's go ahead and see what I can do here. Okay, I think it's in there pretty snug. It goes in these clips pretty easily. I actually had to take it out again bend this whole thing outwards, because when you start putting this in and squeezing it, you know, these clips don't really hold it too well. It's just basically on tension right there. So everything is in the clips, and it looks like it's gonna be straight for the most part. But if you want to, you can try to glue it, but I wouldn't recommend it on leather. So it's just not meant to be glued from the factory. It's just held in place with these clips right here. And then over on the back side right there. But it doesn't look like there's a clip on the front here. All right, moving on to the manual transmission shifter boot. Looks like there's 6 Phillips head screws holding this in position. So we'll go ahead and take the screwdriver, remove those things, and see what we have to work with. Okay, now that the shifter boot and trim ring is officially removed, this thing is held in place with some staples right there. So we'll go ahead and carefully remove those staples with a small flathead screwdriver. So let's go ahead and take care of that. Okay, finally got all the staples out. I used my new nose pliers. Now with this retainer and the shift boot, there's 3 fold over tabs on this straight edge. And then with this angled edge right here, there's only 2 tabs that attach. So there's only one way the shift boot can go for reinstallation. So we need to take our shift boot, put it inside here, fold it over, and we'll see if we can staple these things. I did buy a stapler, but I don't know if it's gonna puncture this thick plastic right here. Hope I didn't waste my money. But if not, this retainer basically locks into this trim ring right here, so we may not need to staple this thing. So we'll go ahead and find out. Okay, one thing to note on these shift boots is these openings right here weren't cut large enough for a shift boot retainer. So I took a Sharpie and just outlined where I need to cut it. And I tried a razor blade, it wasn't working too well. So what I found works best is a chisel and a hammer, and just use a wood working surface when you start hammering and chiseling these things away. Now using a hammer and chisel, you'll see how clean of an opening that is right there, as opposed to a razor blade. That didn't work out too well. Tried to clean up as best I can with the hammer and chisel, but just not as clean as using the hammer and chisel originally right there. All right, now we can go ahead and put this on the retainer ring right here, and we'll see if we can staple this thing in position. I'm not sure. This is some pretty thick plastic, and I'm not sure if the stapler I have will staple through this. We'll find out. Okay, finally got the shift boot onto a plastic retainer, stapled it in position. Stapler gave me a little bit of fight as well. And this right here is the stapler I used in order to fix the shift boot to the shift boot ring. This is the Bot Stitch P6C-8. I was doing research on what to use for leather, and this is what they recommended. However, these are the staplers they recommend for that stapler, but it wasn't going through that plastic. So I went in my toolbox and found these staples for a typical staple gun, and I was able to load them in here. And I was able to staple one successfully. However, for the second one, there was a staple that was getting jammed in the front. Had to take pliers, pull it out, open this thing up, take my flathead screwdriver, push it forward, close it back up and restaple. And some of them still jammed up, but I was able to make do with the staples I needed. So I'm glad that this is taken care of. This is like the most painstaking process right here. So next step, I'm gonna go ahead with the shift boot and take out this ring right here, which basically clips to the shift knob. So I think this is on with a tie strap, so I'm gonna pull this inside out and see how this is attached and remove it. And we need to attach it over to our new shift boot. All right, shift knob retainer is officially tie strapped to new shift boot. Now we need to go ahead and take our trim ring, attach it to the shift boot, and then we'll go ahead and take that assembly and put it on the shifter console itself. So let's go ahead and put things back together. Okay, the new shift boot and the trim ring has now been bolted to the shift console. Things are looking pretty good. You can see a side-by-side comparison. Here's the OEM, here's the perforated leather, here's the perforated leather parking brake, and there's the OEM right there. What a big difference that is. So now let's go ahead and reinstall this in the truck. Now for the parking brake boot, there is no special retainer like there is here on the main shift boot. Basically, this thing just slides right over the handle and it's held in with tension. So we'll go ahead and slide this thing over carefully and then make sure we got the shifter poking through here. And then once we have this in position, we should be able to just push it down and it'll click into place. So let's go ahead and install this back in the truck. All right guys, here's the finished result of the new shift boot, parking brake boot, and TRD Pro shift knob. I mean, just feel that. That is just quality right there. Nice and thick, nice appearance to it with the perforated leather. Now my thought process on getting the perforated leather as opposed to smooth leather is because the steering wheel on the Tacoma, you can see it's perforated right there. Even though it's more densely perforated as opposed to right here, I still think it looks great. And then the red stitching right here, my thought process is you got red accents right here on the side, the TRD Pro knob, along with the red stitching right here. So I think it'd coordinate pretty well. Now another option for the stitching color is, since the seats have like a gray or silver stitching, you could get that, but it's all personal preference. But I think the red stitching turned out well. Coordinates pretty well to TRD Pro knob with the red stripe here on the side and the red stitching as well. What do you guys think? Should I got in the red or should I got silver stitching on these boots? And let's not forget about the parking brake boot here. Now, something I didn't show on camera is basically just tuck this boot down here, because if you don't, there's going to be a lot of extra slack. Someone told me down in the forums to go ahead and tuck it in and it looks a lot better. And there's nothing really that connects this to the parking brake handle. And the boot basically just slips right in. I believe there's a little slot right below this handle right here, and that's kind of where it sits in. Very glad that I chose to get the coordinating parking brake boot along with the shift boot. Now they do sell a center console armrest cover, but I've heard bad reviews because it's always like loose and whatnot, so I decided to leave this thing alone. So there is another option. You can get matching armrest cover if you want to do that, but I left this alone. I think this looks fine. All right guys, the new shift boot, TRD Pro shift knob, and parking brake boots looks absolutely incredible. Not only feel nicer, they give the truck's interior a more luxurious appearance to it. This was definitely a worthwhile mod, being the boots were 90 bucks and the shift knob was 92 bucks. Installation wasn't too bad, although it was fighting with a stapler a little bit, and luckily there wasn't too many staples that were needed. We got a lot more upgraded parts planned for this 3rd gen access cab, and hope y'all can tune along for updates. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching and have a fantastic day.